Welcome to the fifth class in our series of six, Buddhist Activism for Today's World. Before I forget, let me just say that no class next week. I'm going to be out of town on vacation. So we'll have our final class, the sixth and final class, 2 weeks from tonight. Okay, sound good? Okay. Why don't we go ahead and settle in for some meditation? Please give yourself permission to really absorb into this evening's meditation. You may find it beneficial to bring to mind the image of a mountain. The mountain is balanced, grounded, and stable with ancient wisdom awareness. No judgment, no labeling, no comparing, no expectation. The mountain simply observes silently. Please bring your awareness to the crown of your head, to your scalp in particular. And I'd like you to allow at once all of the tiny muscles and nerves that support your scalp to become loose and completely relaxed. The tiny muscles and nerves at the top of your scalp and the back of your scalp and the sides of your scalp. Please allow all of these tiny muscles and nerves to at once release and become loose and deeply, deeply relaxed. Please allow the tiny muscles and nerves across your forehead, the tiny muscles that support your eyebrows, and all of the muscles in your face to become soft and completely relaxed. Your facial muscles become so soft and relaxed that it might feel as though the pores of your skin are opening up now. Your mind starts to relax as your body is starting to relax. And for the remainder of our meditation this evening, I would invite you to bring your awareness not only to the words that you hear, but also to the silent gaps in between the words and in between the sentences. Please allow the tiny muscles that support your jaw to become soft and relaxed. Just allow any tension that you might be carrying in your jaw to dissipate, to drain away completely, to dissolve into empty space, to dissolve into space like emptiness. Your jaw may start to feel a bit heavier now, and it takes a gentle and deliberate effort to keep your jaw from dropping open. Please allow the muscles in your neck and your throat to become soft and relaxed, as well as the muscles in your shoulders, arms, forearms, wrists, hands, and fingers, all the way to your fingertips. And your hands now might feel a bit warmer and heavier as they rest in your lap. And your mind relaxes as your body relaxes. And continue to be aware of the silent gaps. Continue to be aware of the sound of the words that you hear. Aspire to have equanimity between the silent gaps and the sounds of the words. The muscles in your chest become soft and relaxed, and your lungs are now able to perform perfectly and without effort their natural function of breathing. The muscles in your abdomen, and likewise all of the muscles in your back, all of the muscles that support your shoulder blades and your spine. Allow these muscle sets to settle and to rest, to become soft and relaxed as you drop deeper and deeper on down. And let yourself go. Please allow your immune system to rest, to relax, and therefore to strengthen. Your immune system is a physiological gift that functions to protect you. And in order for your immune system to function at an optimal level, no doing is required on your part. Nothing needs to be added. All that is asked of you is to rest, relax, and allow. Allow your immune system to do that which it has naturally and perfectly evolved to do, and that is to protect you. So for the next couple of moments, I'd like you to please just do exactly that. Rest, relax, allow. The muscles in your hips and your pelvic area become soft and relaxed, as well as the muscles in your legs, knees, calves, ankles, feet, and toes. One by one, these muscle sets become completely soft and completely relaxed. The soles of your feet, even the muscles and nerves in the soles of your feet, even the tiny muscles and nerves at the tips of your toes, even your bodily fluids, even the marrow in your bones, even the cells that comprise the marrow in your bones are all resting and relaxed. Your body is a mountain with consciousness now, balanced, grounded, stable, with ancient wisdom awareness, with ancient Zen awareness. Your mind relaxes completely now as your body is completely relaxed. And let yourself go. All of the difficulties you experience in your life, without exception, arise from these confused notions of self and other, me and mine and not yours, ours and not theirs. So let yourself go. When you encounter a situation that you find undesirable, you have two choices. You can resist or you can accept. You can resist or you can accept. Resisting what is will perpetuate your suffering. Accepting what is will liberate you from your suffering. It's important to recognize that patience is not gritting your teeth and putting up with something. Patience is a mind that wholeheartedly accepts whatever arises, having abandoned the notion that things should be other than what they are. Please know this truth about patient acceptance. If you perfect your practice of patient acceptance, you will never suffer again in this lifetime. So I'd like you now to just rest in a state of pure, unconditional acceptance. Feel free to accept the sounds of the words that you hear. Feel free to accept the absence of sounds from the words that you might hear. Rest in acceptance. You are able to wholeheartedly accept whatever arises, having abandoned the notion that things should be other than what they are. You will never suffer again in this lifetime. Continue to rest in a state of pure acceptance. It's important to recognize that wholeheartedly accepting a situation that you find undesirable and taking steps to improve the situation are not mutually exclusive. You can accept the fact that you have a headache and take medicine to relieve the pain of the headache. These two actions can be entirely complementary. For the last moment or two of our meditation, please just rest in a state of acceptance, completely free of any form of resistance whatsoever. Now, please gently redirect your awareness. Become aware again of this collection of parts we've agreed to label physical body, and allow your breathing to become less shallow. Taking deeper and deeper breaths, become aware again of the garments of clothing resting on the surface of physical body. Become aware again of your surroundings inside the room that you're occupying. Deeper and deeper breaths, becoming aware again of the world that exists outside of the room that you're occupying. Become aware again of clouds, of blue sky beyond the clouds, of limitless space beyond the blue sky. Limitless space, which is not separate from the limitless nature of your consciousness. We dedicate all of the positive energy from this evening's meditation to world peace. May all beings without exception be completely free from all forms of emotional and physical suffering. May all beings without exception be happy, peaceful, contented, and enjoy inner and outer freedom. Completely fill up your belly and lungs with air, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes and bring your meditation to an end. Thank you very much. It felt still in here. Yeah, yeah. Um, so I have been reflecting on our last couple of classes in which we discussed, last week we talked about the perfection of patience, hence the meditation that we did tonight. And previous to that, the previous week, we talked about the perfection of moral discipline. And I think we waded in a little bit to the waters of patient acceptance. And I realize that the approach that I have taken to presenting the six perfections within an activist context, it hasn't been as skillful as it could be. Um, as you know, we are drawing from the 8th century text Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, talking about the way of the Bodhisattva, one who aspires to become a better person for the sake of the world, maybe even achieve full awakening. The Bodhisattva aspires to attain the mind of Bodhichitta, enlightened mind, translated roughly, enlightened mind, for the benefit of others. And I don't think I did a good enough job setting context and um, explaining what a profound and profoundly beautiful mind this is, and what a great aspiration it is. It's a huge aspiration that's based in selflessness, complete and utter selflessness. I'm going to do whatever needs to be done for the sake of sentient beings in this world. I think it was the first class in our series, we talked about, I read from Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, and remember Shantideva, the author of that, talked about, may I be a bridge for those who need to cross. May I be a river for those who need to cross. May I be the boat. May I be water. May I be whatever people need in order to be free from their suffering. It's huge. It's huge, hugely ambitious, very beautiful, and maybe it seem a little bit overly ambitious to some of us, to the extent that we don't understand. And I think it would be helpful to provide just a little bit of context before we talk about the two perfections of effort and concentration. of effort and concentration. Um, and the way to do that, I'd like, is to just remind everybody about the Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths. The first noble truth is you should know suffering. Two is you should abandon origins. That is to say, you should abandon the origins of suffering. You should attain cessations, and you should practice the path. And this is lots of shoulds there. I always qualify that. You should do this, you should do that. It's kind of the preamble to that is if you want to be free of suffering, you should do these things. You should know suffering, you should abandon origins, you should attain cessations, you should practice the path. Um, and I want to talk about the first one in particular within the context of Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. Um, the first of the Four Noble Truths is often misrepresented. I might have mentioned in previous class that I have a refrigerator magnet at home that has it's like a misrepresentation of the First Noble Truth. It says, all life is suffering. That's the First Noble Truth is often cited as that, and it's inaccurate. And I'm sort of not getting into an argument. Those guys out there don't know what they're talking about. It's this definition that's the right one. But just all we have to do is really ask ourselves, is life, all of life suffering? Is all life suffering? That's not my experience. Yeah. Things like love and kindness and compassion and bodhicitta, these are all the opposite of suffering in my estimation. I mean, that's just one person's observation. All life is not suffering. That's very different from what the Buddha said, which is you should know suffering. In fact, the first words of the very first teaching that Shakyamuni Buddha gave after he had attained his full awakening was, first, you should know suffering. Because we need to know what we're dealing with. We need to kind of know thy enemy. We need to become acutely aware of our suffering, not ignoring the good things that happen, the good feelings that we have, the good states of mind that arise. Sometimes minds of pure selflessness arise. Not saying that we should completely abandon those states of mind and disregard them. And we need to be very clear about our situation and the suffering that we encounter, namely the suffering of aging, sickness, death, rebirth, aging, sickness, death, rebirth, over and over. And they throw in three others, typically in the sutras, three others, in addition to aging, sickness, death, rebirth. That is having to encounter what we don't like, having to be separated from what we do like, and failing to satisfy our desires. Anyways, probably talking more about the First Noble Truth than I need to, but here's how it links up in terms of bodhicitta and the aspiration to become a bodhisattva. We might think of first you should know suffering, like I should know the sufferings of this one life. It's like a deeper meaning is you should know the suffering of future lives. You should know the suffering of future lives that await you, because relative to this one short life, if we believe in reincarnation and there are causes which will cause us to take rebirth in future lives, a lot of future lives ahead of us unless we attain awakening and get off the karmic wheel. So the deeper meaning of you should know suffering is you should know the sufferings of future lives. This is only one. Like compared to our future lives, the duration of this life is like a water bubble, right? Really short, really brief, relatively speaking. The bodhicitta slash bodhisattva application of you should know suffering is you should know the sufferings of others. Yeah, you should know the sufferings of others. When we make that our priority in practicing, understanding and practicing the first noble truth, it's with the mind of bodhicitta that we say, I'm only one where others are countless, right? I'm not free of suffering until everyone is free of suffering. Yeah. And I think, there's some people here who are demonstrating on 180 today. I got to believe that you guys that somewhere that was a part of your motivation for being there, and bless you for that. So you should know suffering within the context of bodhicitta. You should know the sufferings of others, and not just humans, by the way, animals, who we love them. We love them. We love our pets, especially we love our pets. And they don't have freedom. They don't have the freedoms that we do. They're confused about things, don't understand what's going on. I mean, pets can be, there's a paradox there that I want to acknowledge. The intuition of pets, like my dog, is just absolutely amazing. I mean, it's the intuition of an enlightened being, I think. It's like when the tone of my voice changes from, poetic and soft and sweet to maybe irritable, like my dog's ears perk up and he looks and he's like, if he could talk, he'd say, "What can I do? What can I do to alleviate your suffering?" But that's exactly the point. He can't talk and he can't formulate those thoughts. And so he doesn't have the freedom that we do, and again, it's not a disparagement. It's just the truth. They don't have the freedoms that we do. Anyways, I think it's helpful to talk about bodhicitta within that larger context of the Four Noble Truths. And yeah, so the fourth noble truth that's presented is the perfection of effort, applying effort and being skillful in the application of that effort. The wisdom toward that which we apply effort, like those projects or campaigns to which we apply effort. I think a lot of times we're motivated to take action, as in activism, we're motivated to take action out of compassion, out of a wish for others to be free from suffering. Yet wisdom, without the wisdom to go along with that compassion, we might make mistakes. We often do make mistakes, you know? Yeah, I've heard some dreadful stories. I don't want to bring everybody down, but just activists trying to represent people in third world countries, in slave labor sorts of environments. They got them liberated from those situations and those sweatshop conditions. But the alternative that they ended up going to as a result of shutting down the sweatshop factory ended up being arguably even worse than what it was. So, in terms of applying effort, I think we need to be clear on where we are with regard to our level of wisdom. And here's the big one with effort. I'm kind of going all over the board here with this, but or something. There's a practice. I know Grace on this call is familiar with this term. It's called Mahamudra. It's called Mahamudra. That translates as the Great Seal. The Great Seal, as in the seal of reliability, like a stamp of reliability or a stamp of authenticity. And Mahamudra says a lot of different things, but if one made me say, all right, I've only got time to hear one, what's the elevator speech for Mahamudra? I would say it is that we can't experience life or anything within it through thought, through thinking. Yep. We can't think our way into being happy. We can't think our way out of suffering. We can't experience through thought. We can't change. We can't think our way into changing in any way. It has to come through experience, and experience comes through something called awareness. Awareness that is free of thought. Okay, hang in there, you guys. This is this is kind of wordy and maybe a little bit abstract, but it's really, really important. One of the verses from my very favorite text in the whole world, the Ganges Mahamudra, in one of the verses, it says, the intellect cannot see that which is beyond conceptual mind. So beyond what is conceptual mind, the intellect cannot see that. You will never realize that which is uncreated through created dharmas or created mental constructs. If you wish to attain or realize that which is beyond the intellect and is uncreated, then scrutinize your mind and strip awareness naked. It's through non-conceptual awareness that we experience things, like have an authentic experience of compassion, have an authentic experience of love. You guys are experts on this. You know, love isn't about thinking. Yeah. It's, yeah. I mean, maybe we've tried to talk ourselves into loving someone in the past and, A for effort, but it ultimately doesn't work, you know? It's an experience. An experience comes through awareness. And it's with that backdrop that I say the application of effort needs to be effortless. The application of effort needs to be effortless. Otherwise, it's contrived, right, through thoughts and reasoning and rationale and stuff like this. And we got to act from where we are. We do the best we can, but if it's coming from a conceptualized basis, I think we can see that that effort is 100 is less than 100% pure. Would you agree with that? Does that make sense? Yeah. So effort and then concentration is concentration. That's the fifth perfection. All sorts, just tons and tons of teachings on concentration and the nine mental abidings, different levels of concentration to where we can get to in the name of holding our object of meditation single pointedly. Why do we meditate and aspire to develop perfect concentration, the perfection of concentration, so that we can deepen our experience of these virtuous minds and thus be of more service to more people in the world. Yeah, it's for the sake of others that we meditate, that we meditate with increasingly refined states of concentration. for the sake of others, the bodhicitta motivation of the bodhisattva. 3 minutes left. One more thought that I want to share with you, okay, before we close. And that is that when some think, it would be understandable to me how some would think Buddhist activism for today's world. Finally, we're going to learn about actions, like physical actions that we can engage in order to make the world a better place, in order to deal with the political and social mess that's out there. And, you know, somebody might have come to this series and thought, oh, patient acceptance, if that's a form of activism. I was hoping for something more robust, you know, and I would just submit that accepting what is or accepting someone takes a tremendous amount of strength. It's a very, very powerful action. I mean, I'm sure that all of us can reflect on times when somebody was presented with great adversity, a very difficult situation. Talk about my dad. My dad died from ALS, from Lou Gehrig's disease. You know, I've got to abbreviate the story, and some of you have heard it before, but from my dad's situation in a hospital, he had lost complete mobility, um, couldn't eat, couldn't go to the bathroom on his own. His life existed. He could move his eyes, and that was it. So his days consisted of watching golf on television day after day. And so I went to I talked to his wife and said, let's get some books on tape for my dad's a really cerebral guy. Let's get some books on tape. Yeah, let's get some books on tape. So you can, and here's how you pay for it, and here's how you download it, and here's how, and my dad was a Christian and said, we can give the Bible. What version of the Bible do you want? He said, well, I like the King James Version. Great. We can download that. You can listen to it maybe in lieu of or in addition to watching golf hour after hour. So I went away, came back a few weeks later, none of it had been done, and I could have practiced patient acceptance better than I did for the fact that it wasn't done. And I said, what happened? I thought we had a plan, right? And my dad motioned me over, well, not with his hands, but he kind of clears his throat to indicate he wanted to talk to me. And he has one of those devices that you put against the throat and enables people, words to come out. And he says, Jeff, this may be difficult for you to understand. He said, but I lead a very rich life. He said, I'm not wanting for anything. That's patient acceptance. And that's beautifully inspiring acceptance. And if we were to apply that in an activist sort of setting, what a difference that would make. What a difference. Or just skip the activist part in relationships that we're with, that we're in. People that we're thinking about disowning because of their political views, such a beautiful action of activism. And so it is with giving, and so it is with moral discipline. I would submit to you that there are no more powerful forms of activism than these offered by the Six Perfections in Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. 6:16, you guys. Again, no class a week from tonight. On the last class, sixth and final class, 2 weeks from tonight, we'll talk about the perfection of wisdom. And before I let you go, just one more thing. I know you've got your Friday night parties to get to, so just hang in there. Remember in the meditation I said, silence is, sorry, it's the silent gaps. Silence is the mere absence of sound. I've said this in meditations before. Silence is the mere absence of sound. It is the lack of sound, this absence of sound, that defines silence. Okay? There's nothing more to silence than the absence of sound. Okay? Stillness is the mere absence of movement. It's the absence of movement that defines stillness and nothing more. That's not the same as nothing, right? It's not the same as nothing. We're saying there's an absence there, different from nothing. Awareness, the mere absence of thought. Nothing more to awareness than the absence of thought. Hold on to those notions because we're going to develop it in wisdom realizing emptiness, or wisdom, which is the sixth perfection we'll talk about 2 weeks from tonight. Okay, it's like a preview and kind of homework contemplations, if you will. Okay, thanks for staying after, you guys. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks. You're most welcome. Bye, you guys. Bye, you Zoomers.
That's them. You're not Zoomers.